There's been a lot of subtle hints on when we're going to see more gameplay on Anthem, such as in more gameplay trailers, in trailers for the game, general announcements, and also developer live streams, which was somewhat confirmed a couple of weeks ago. The video is on screen if you want to check that out, but basically the devs playing the game on Twitch. However, today I want to focus less on the when we're going to see gameplay, and more on the what, and I want to go over 5 things that we really need to see actually, and that the community really wants to know about the game. My name is Ryan Central, and welcome to Anthem. The first one is kinda 2, and that is the Storm and Interceptor gameplay. Quite a straightforward one, that's why I wanted to start with it first. We've seen a good amount of gameplay for the Ranger and a heavy amount on the Colossus, but the Interceptor and Storm we have seen very little gameplay from their perspective. We don't really know their abilities, and even on the website it says to come back later when it comes to their ultimates and the kind of role that they will bring to the table. Because of this, I just want to see the developers running around as the Storm or Interceptor, and it's the main reason why we haven't seen them so far. I guess BioWare just weren't comfortable with the iteration that they're working on, that both the Storm and the Interceptor needed a little bit more time in the oven. They weren't quite ready yet, and so hopefully the next thing that they could show is some gameplay of these classes, as well as a few other things. Because the next 4 on this list aren't just, oh, see this, see that. It's about aspects of the game that we kind of know a little bit about, but not too much. For example, number 2 is social features and the UI. We got to see a brief look at the UI at the start of the Colossus gameplay trailer as you're loading up to set up your mission, inviting your friends to your group, setting the difficulty, picking the mission that you want to play from the Strider. But other than that, we didn't really see much. For obvious reasons, the gameplay is meant to be cinematic, so bringing up the menu halfway through to change up gear wasn't really going to happen. But I'd love to see this in gameplay or in a live stream of just John Warner running around on an account, but he presses start or whatever the UI ability is going to be, looks at who's online, looks on the map for what kinds of missions are available, maybe even in the Strider or Fort Tarsis, walking around there, going to the Forge, changing your abilities, just being able to see walking around Fort Tarsis, picking up some loot, handing in a mission and getting a reward for it, that kind of stuff that we don't really get to see. But also the social features is an important aspect of that. From a PC Gamer interview, Mark Darrett was asked, is there a kind of social structure between players? Can you form guilds or clans? And he says yes, but I feel it requires a longer explanation with more supporting materials than I have to provide. And this would be a perfect time to show the longer explanation on how the social features work. Do you see what I mean? It's not just about running around as a Storm doing a mission. I want to see the intricacies at play and really make the experience of Anthem much more engaging other than just running around killing stuff. Just having a look at the UI even for a split second is going to answer so many different questions. Number 3 is progression, more specifically endgame content, but it kind of comes under a lot of different areas. For example, you're running around, you handed a mission, you get a better bit of gear, you go to the Forge to put it on, that's progression. The idea of seeing one character start off somewhere and end up better in terms of gear, experience, storyline, especially with how BioWare like to narrate their games. I would just like to see a less one-dimensional experience. Again, it could be brief, it could be in a live stream of just running around going, okay, we have a level 5 account, let's get it to level 10, and it's just a mix of different missions, stories, patrols and bounties that you'll get from main characters in Fort Tarsis, just to see the experience really. And if I'm wanting to invest hundreds of hours into this game, to see exactly how I would be doing that. Having that knowledge before the game and even playing it yourself, I think would go a long way for people to go, yeah, this game seems like my jam. They've spent 3 hours doing all of these missions and they all seem really interesting. I'm on board. I think that would do really well for the game. But that does line up nicely into number 4, which is dynamic content. This was the answer that John Warner gave on a really amazing question that had a really solid answer too.
What's the best part of the grind? Like, how does it stay fun in hour 5 versus hour 500?
Nah. So I'll take a shot at that.
Yeah.
I think that for me, and because I've played it a long time now, and it's because the world is dynamic. It's not always the same, same dudes who are waiting to ambush you at the same spot every time. It does change, and the weather has an effect on things. Day-night has an effect on things. So that's one thing, is that it's always kind of surprising at that base level. And the gear is fun to chase, and that's always something where you're trying to get a better version of a weapon, or just a straight up better weapon. I think there are lots of great things to find and lots of cool enemies to fight. And the world events, like when you see with that Ash Titan, you never know what you're going to hit. If you're out in free play, world events are going to happen, and that can be something like oh, hey, there are some sentinels who have been imprisoned or who are under siege and you got to go help them out. It could be that Ash Titan, could be something bigger or something better. But that's always something that's dynamic and surprising as well.
Like I said, it goes into number 3 with progression and the whole idea of endgame content. When it comes to Destiny, World of Warcraft, all those kinds of games, players want to dedicate a good amount of time to grind out the game, to get the best gear as possible, to really just invest a lot of time into playing said titles. You don't want to suffer from what World of Warcraft has in the past, and of course Destiny 2 when it first came out, where there isn't really a lot of endgame content and it all seems gated behind time, events, weeklies, and just isn't a solid experience. So I'm really invested in the idea of what they're talking about here being dynamic content. A really good example is Shaper Storms. Again, I would love to see John Warner, Mac Dara, whoever, playing on live stream, max level, going, okay, we're going to do some max level stuff to get some better gear. Oh, there's some dailies that we can do. Oh, maybe, do you want to do a stronghold actually? Let's up the difficulty to a level that we haven't done before. Or maybe we can do the raid. Oh my god, there's a Shaper Storm, let's go do that. John Warner's answer here gets me really excited at the idea that endgame content within Anthem is going to be really solid for a good amount of time. Players want to invest hours into this game even once they've hit max level. They want to do whatever you can do and see what the high-end game has to offer. And let's face it, so many games have really suffered in this genre because their endgame has been absolutely trash, even some big AAA titles. So hearing the almost confidence out of John Warner saying we want to keep people engaged with this dynamic content is really good, but I want to see this dynamic content. A really good example of that would be a Shaper Storm, just being able to see maybe as a gameplay trailer or just as generic Storm Interceptor gameplay of just them going outside and just seeing what the world has to offer. We kind of see this with the Ranger gameplay, but it's only 5 minutes long. If we could see 20 minutes of just an Interceptor flying around doing odd jobs and then coming back to Fort Tarsis, I think that would be great. We don't need to see what we saw with the Colossus of just a whole mission all the way through. That's all well and good and people got to play that mission, but it would be good just to see, even in the YouTube video, of an Interceptor kind of just going off and doing odd bits and pieces. Nothing specific all the way through. And then just running into stuff like a Shaper Storm to give us a good example of the kind of dynamic content that we're looking out for. As a World of Warcraft player, world events saved the game when it comes to going outside and just doing random bits and pieces that show up. And to see that in Anthem before it gets into its demo, I think would get a lot of people excited going, holy shit, this can happen at any point. That's amazing. And imagine that on Twitch. People would lose their goddamn minds watching developers just going off and doing a Shaper Storm. But these last 2 points that I brought up specifically go into one much bigger one. These points haven't really been ordered so far, but this last one is the one that I want to see the most. It's non-scripted content. All of the gameplay that we have physically seen, unless we've played the game already, has been scripted. Granted, the first E3 trailer was a lot worse than the Colossus one.
Have you been in there yet?
I haven't. We should do that later with Kim.
Yeah, he could use the XP.
I mean, come on, who talks like that? But the point I'm trying to make is that everything that we've seen has been orchestrated in a way to give you a good idea on how the game works. The gameplay doesn't look hard because these characters are overgeared and it's on a really easy difficulty, and these developers have had thousands of hours in the game already. Imagine that gameplay, but they just keep dying over and over again, and you can hear on the comms them shouting at each other. That wouldn't make for good teaser content for E3. However, this is why I like the idea of the live stream so much. Just seeing again the developers running around, even content creators with them, just going into missions that they're completely unqualified and undergeared for, and just getting their asses handed to them would be great, just to see how this game would work in the hands of a normal player, flying into walls, falling off stuff, shooting a grenade at your feet that you just instantly die. I think that's the thing that Anthem's been missing. People are really excited for this game, but they can't trust what they see. To an extent, it would be smokes and mirrors for this game, because this gameplay wouldn't go out unless it was 100% perfect. It's like an image that's been photoshopped. All of this gameplay was orchestrated and scripted in a way that gives you a really good picture. Flying onto the top of the hill to see everybody below you, that kind of thing. But that is exactly why I'm so down for the idea of seeing Anthem live streams of the devs playing it, because I just want to see players with controllers in hand playing this game. And again, seeing the progression a character makes when they're doing stuff back to point 3 and then point 4 with random stuff happening. It'd be great if Mac Dara, John Warner are playing the game on a live stream and they're not even expecting a Shaper Storm to come up, and it does. These are so many really good examples of scenarios that I really want to see with Anthem that I think is going to get people away from this cynical, careful approach that people have for the game to people going, yep, okay, no, I'm totally hyped for this game. I think Overwatch did a really good job of this before before the beta came out, just being able to see alpha gameplay of a Tracer's perspective in a match. It didn't even need to be good gameplay, some of the games that were put on were awful, but it gives you good insight into how the game is going to work and play, and that's been a big emphasis on the channel so far this week. But they are 5 things that I really wanted to highlight that I think we really need to see for Anthem before the demo. Storm Interceptor gameplay because obviously, social features if there are guilds and clans, and see a little bit more of the UI, especially when it comes to equipping armor and weapons. Progression, how do people get gear, how do they level up, what's that process like? Dynamic content, the thing that's meant to keep people playing for hours upon hours on end. And non-scripted content. Let's just see the devs doing stupid shit in game and seeing what happens. But that's everything I wanted to go over in this video. Thank you very much for watching. Like I said at the start of the video, do let me know what things you really want to see in the game. Albeit Storm Interceptor gameplay, raids, more strongholds, let us know below. Like and subscribe for more Anthem content, really helps out the channel, and I'll see you soon. Take care.